But the beauty of that discipline was also that to be a leader then meant that you actually, in the eyes of your community, they trusted you and their lives and their children's lives with you. It didn't mean money, and it didn't mean status. They were just risks. So in that broader community, I learned about non-racialism. I went through the Black consciousness movement. I was part, at the age of 19, by complete default, I ended up bearing Steve Biko. And I will never forget Steve Biko's face and Chris Honey's faces in the coffins. I suppose you can call it a nightmare. I don't know what I still dream about it. But at the end of the day, going through that Black consciousness movement and knowing people like this has just also enabled me in the Black. Now, some people say the Black consciousness, but I really am a very firm person who believes in non-racialism. I don't think Black consciousness was a negative response on my part. It was actually a very important part of shaping who I am. I think still staying stuck in Black consciousness today as a political philosophy is too limited. I think as a cultural sense of yourself is still very powerful. What did it teach me? It taught me a few things that said, I still listen to Nina Simone, To Be Young, Gifted, and Black. I don't know if you've ever heard that thing. And there's still this one version which this young woman, Palesa, actually put this CD compilation together for me on a road trip. Nina Simone is at a vintage bed. She's very drunk, and she is so out to lunch. And I mean, it's just like, to be young, gifted, and black is where it's at, And the context is, I was born in 1958. Then, of course, the Sharpeville thing and the whole suppression and jail and every leader removed. And then along came the Black consciousness movement towards the late 60s. And then at that stage, black, to identify yourself as black was a positive identification. It wasn't, you're not a non-white. And that's why I still can't call myself a non-white. I'm not a non-something. I'm actually a something. I'm different, but I'm something, and I'm not better, and I'm not worse, and so on. And just that sense, and I know I was at UWC, a student at UWC. Some people still remember me for two things, which I wish they would remember my brilliant intellect. No, they remember me. I had the biggest afro at UWC. We all wanted to be like Angela Davis and the Black Panthers. Yeah. My husband still, one of his highest points in his life was when we could take a photograph with him next to Angela Davis. I mean, every man in the world just thought God's gift to men can only be Angela Davis. But anyway, so I had this huge afro. The other thing they remember me for is that I was incredibly accurate with a stone, as far as the police were concerned. It's a good skill to have, I can promise you. But living through that struggle where we actually defined values, defined alternatives to what a society was trying to tell us to be. And so I carried on. But in that struggle, I eventually ended up in the women's movement, in the non-racial women's movement. And that women's movement, they were just women. I knew Helen Joseph personally, Dorothy Sihlangu, Frances Bard. Just this incredibly powerful, Ray Alexander, incredibly powerful group, Sophie de Bruyn. These are all our mothers. And they were the people who really held me, who pushed me to make my first speech, who believed in me, said to me, you can speak. I'll never forget, it was a National Women's Day rally. And I was as nervous as hell. But these mothers of mine just held me, supported me, but they also kept a very strict eye on us. They were also remarkable men throughout my life. Oscar Mpeta. I mean, Baba Oscar was something else. I mean, I suppose there are not many people here old enough to remember him. He famously went to jail over a song called Nasi Sibam, Angola. There are guns in Angola. So he comes out of jail. He is now minus one leg because he refused to admit that he was diabetic and he refused to change his diet, so he lost his leg. I'm saying this very lightheartedly. It's obviously very traumatic. He comes out of jail. Myself and Trevor Manuel goes to go and welcome him. And it was one of the most beautiful sights. People were just running across to when they heard he was released, standing in the township in Nyanga in the Cape. And so, of course, the security police are surrounding the place as well, and so, but people are not scared of the police. So Baba Oscar comes out and he as the seat for me goes in and symbolically washes, and he comes out and he's with his walking stick. And he was so naughty. He sits in, he gets this mad glint in his eye, really mischievous glint. And I said, the security police are surrounding this, the army, they've got Caspers, everything. And he picks up his walking stick, and it's this thing that you have your hand in, and then it's got the grip for the hand at the bottom. And he holds it up like that, like a gun, and he starts singing, "Nasisi bam, nasisi bam." I mean, but Oscar Mpeta really believed in me. He was the president of the UDF in the Western Cape. And I have never, ever felt that there was an issue with him about the fact that I was a woman, and he certainly cut me no slack, but he understood that as a woman, I would often be challenged by other men who were less comfortable than that.